Let's get more on the day's business news now. Stephen Carroll is on set with us. Stephen, lots of companies news floating around today, especially as concerns smartphones. What's going on?
That's right. Well, let's start by talking about Apple. Apple saw $66 billion wiped off the value of the company after its latest set of results. And that's because despite the company reporting an increase of profits of nearly 40% for the 3 months to the end of June, there was some disappointment with figures on iPhone sales, which came in slightly lower than expected at 47.5 million units sold. Nick Rushworth explains the details.
The iPhone 6.
Apple's iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, launched last year, shattered sales records. The Apple share price, however, has sagged over lower than expected fourth quarter revenue forecasts. The question being asked is, has iPhone fever peaked?
They shipped a few less phones than everyone thought, so just under 48 million, and people had kind of thought on a whisper basis it would be at least 50, but still phenomenal, 35% year-over-year growth, huge revenue number, closing in on $50 billion on a quarterly basis, which is phenomenal.
The upside for Apple is a record third quarter. In terms of the iPhone market, China is red hot, with sales almost doubling from last year. That market, however, remains a challenge with stiff competition. Rival Huawei says revenues from its handset sales have jumped by 87% in the past year. Apple is seeking to gain momentum with a steady flow of innovative products. It's chosen not to release sales numbers for its Apple Watch, launched in April, seeking to protect its new gadget in the early stages. Apple says, though, that sales are exceeding expectations. The industry verdict is that the watch still needs time.
I just don't think the watch matters on a profit or a revenue basis. I think it matters on an innovation basis. I think the real early adapters love it. They had some glitches in the rollout globally, some issues moving the volume and the supply chain. We just don't think it's going to be a huge product for them for at least another year or so.
With Apple's share price tumbling significantly at one point during after-hours trading, attention will focus on any more signs the craze for Apple products is fading.
Well, let's take a look now at what's happening on the markets, and trading in Europe has just begun. European shares opening generally down at the start of trading here. Those bad corporate results are, I suppose, disappointing. They're not bad corporate results coming from the US, not helping things on the European markets. Technology firms in general trading down across Europe. Bright spot, though, in London, though, with shares in the low-cost airline EasyJet. They're up at over 2% after they said they expect profits to rise some 14% in this financial year. Over in Asia, some spillover effect from results from Apple and others as well. You can see the Nikkei in Tokyo, they're down over 1%. Just the Shanghai Composite seeing some slight gains in trading today.
All right, let's look at some of the day's other business headlines, see whether they can help you overcome your disappointment.
Thank you. Well, we'll start with something disappointing nonetheless, and that's troubles from Microsoft. Their purchasing of Nokia's handset business has pushed it into its worst quarterly loss in the company's history of $3.2 billion. Earlier this month, the software giant revealed it was writing off $7.5 billion over the deal, as well as cutting almost 8,000 jobs. The company's earnings also hit by the strong value of the US dollar. Yahoo has posted losses of almost $22 million for the past 3 months. The internet giant did register its biggest rise in revenue in 9 years over the quarter, but earnings were hit by the money that Yahoo pays to its partners to drive traffic to their sites. Chief Executive Marissa Mayer says nonetheless she's pleased with the growth in mobile and video advertising. And the operator of the rail tunnel between England and France is seeking compensation of almost €10 million from the British and French governments to cover the costs of the increased number of migrants trying to use the crossing to enter the UK. Eurotunnel says it spent nearly €13 million so far this year on increased security, more than the total it spent last year.
Something else that's making headlines in the business press here in France, the protests by farmers that are continuing.
That's right, and they're continuing to block the ring road around the northwestern city of Caen, as well as several other locations around the region. The blockade from the city of Lille near the Belgian border was lifted overnight. Farmers have been staging protests in recent days, angry that their profits have been squeezed by retailers and abattoirs. This is the French government is set to announce a set of emergency measures this Wednesday to help livestock and dairy farmers. Let's listen to the French Agriculture Minister, Stéphane Le Foll.
We're not here to negotiate. I'm returning to Paris to discuss how the agreement signed in June has been implemented, as well as the analysis and the consulting that we will carry out. I was, however, here to listen to the problems associated with this region.
Finally, news from Nike that knows how to keep its good employees, or in this case, its chief executive.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll apply this to all of us at some stage. This is the chief executive of Nike. Mike Parker is his name, and he's been offered shares worth $30 million if he agrees to stay with the company for the next 5 years. Now, Parker's been working for the sportswear giant since 1979. He joined as a shoe designer, and he became chief executive in 2006. But the company's chairman says that he wants Parker to succeed him in that role when he retires, and that's why they're giving him this incentive to stay. Now, the offer was made on Parker's performance in the job so far. Under his stewardship, shares in Nike have risen by some 46% in the past year, so they believe he's worth it.
All right. You know, Florence Villemino isn't doing anything over the next 5 years, and she comes at a discounted rate, so maybe we want to put the word out to Nike. All right. Thank you very much. The business news with Stephen Carroll.